Welcome to What CEOs Talk About. Do you wonder what CEOs talk about behind closed doors? How they bring their vision to reality? How do they overcome and succeed through adversity? We share that and so much more with each episode. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, this is Martin Hunter, your host of the What CEOs Talk About show, where we talk about translating strategy into frontline operations. Past guests include Mark Raffin of Negotiations Ninja, Jeremy Weiss of Rise 25. The list can go on, but hey, I want to keep all the time for Amanda. This episode is brought to you by Urgio. Urgio is Latin for to urge, a strong desire to drive change, stimulate thought, incite feelings, encourage action. Urgio provides fractional COO services to move you through growing pains so that your company can flourish and profit. Amanda, you are a visionary CEO. How important is it to have an integrator?
It's essential.
Essential. I like that word. I'll ask the editors to put all these sparkles around you when you say that.
There we go.
So if you're a visionary CEO like Amanda, or you're a VC of a company and you have one of the companies you've invested in has a visionary CEO, and you need to have that integrator to help you monetize that idea, go to urgio.ca or email them at info@urgeo.ca. Urgio has worked with a multitude of companies from SaaS to CPG, mining, transportation, from startups, from mom and pop shops, all the way to large multinational corporations. Without further ado, Amanda, great goddess of the universe, founder and CEO of It's Your Time, 11 years in the making, mom of 2 boys. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you.
Amanda, what do you want to put in the middle of the plate? What do you want the show to be? What's the title?
Creating a great workplace for my team.
Oh, okay. So tell us. We're going to put that in the middle of your story. So why? Let's take us way back when you were created as goddess of the universe. When did this? Tell us your story, and when did this kind of creation of the best work environment come to fruition in your mind?
Well, my career before I started It's Your Time I was a career executive assistant, admin assistant, and
Hold on a second. What is It's Your Time for the listeners and the watchers?
Sorry, It's Your Time is virtual business services.
Okay.
And we do that administrative work for other businesses.
Okay.
And so before I started the business, that's what I did as my career, as I was an EA or an admin assistant for other businesses. And I had what I call her the world's greatest boss, at working at a library, actually. And but it was one of those really great jobs where you've got lots of holiday, lots of sick pay, great benefits, pension plan. And I was just really bored after a while. So when I first got there was lots of change. But it got to the point where it just was like not exciting anymore.
Okay.
And so I left the world's best boss in order to find challenge, and had 2 years of just horrible employment. And jumped off from there to starting It's Your Time. And it just, I think I had been really lucky to have like fairly good work environments, but nothing that ever kept my interest or challenged me. And then had this really amazing boss, but still in an environment where there wasn't room for growth or to be challenged. And then saw how bad it could be in other environments once I left her. And so when I started It's Your Time, I knew I wanted to grow a business and have employees at some point. And so it was really critical to me to create an environment where people could come and be challenged, they could grow their careers, they would feel appreciated, they'd be treated well, and sort of create that perfect environment that I would have just died for, like when I was an employee, right?
Okay.
So
hey, let's define that. Let's put lesson number 1. Write down right in the middle. Let's define what is best work environment. So we've got CEOs, we got other people, we got VCs. They're saying, okay, oh, that's a good idea. What is it? So if we're translating strategy into frontline operations, what does great environment look like? Is it you? So you said challenged to start you
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, I think challenged. I think there needs to be an opportunity to learn, to constantly be learning new skills and to be challenged, which also needs to be balanced with like professional growth and pay or whatever it is that is going to be reporting to you on the other side of that.
Mhm.
I'm a big believer that it's important to have a workplace free of shame. And so,
Free of shame.
yeah,
Ah,
I think people their creativity and growth gets stifled because people are worried about being shamed or worried about making a mistake.
mhm.
So I put a lot of effort with my team. Like mistakes are okay. It's just, do we fix the mistakes? Do we own up to the mistakes? And there's nothing to be ashamed about. It's just, it's how we move forward together.
Mhm.
Um,
The
so
old school be a man, right? So
yeah.
that and I want to take that out, but really ownership of the problem. So it,
Mhm.
stand up. You fail fast, right? So hey, put your hand
Absolutely.
up. I made that decision. Don't be afraid to own the decision, and take that on. And that honesty and
Mhm.
trust will gain you. All sorry, I should say that honesty will gain you a lot more trust
Absolutely.
over the long run. Well, unless you keep failing at the same thing, but
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, the trick is to learn from it, not just not just
ow,
own it, but to also
ow,
learn from it.
ow,
Yeah.
ow, ow. Okay,
Yeah.
stop that. Ow.
But like I think, our clients appreciate it if when we do make the mistake, we're like this going, hey, we made this mistake, it's already fixed, but just so you know, this is what's happened.
Mhm.
People appreciate that rather than wondering like, oh, what's happened here, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
So challenged, okay.
mhm. Free of
Growth,
shame,
free of
growth.
shame. I really like that one. Free of shame.
Um, and I also think taking care of people's creature comforts. So from the moment
Excuse
you,
me?
yeah,
Creature comforts?
you need to make sure you're paying people enough that they can have like live, right? And not just sort of pay the bare minimum bills or what have you. We've provided benefits since our first employee, having time off, having sick days, all those things, having personal days, etc. So, people can
So
actually
where
have
did you come up with
lives.
the term creature? Hold on. Creature. What is
Creature
it?
comforts,
Creature
you know,
comfort.
just the things that make life, I feel, kind of like the basics to live your life.
I love it. Creature comfort. Oh
So,
my goodness. That's that's my wife is gonna tell. Oh, I'm gonna bring that up. She goes, "Yeah, damn right, you're a creature."
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
here's your food. Go back to your office. Uh,
Exactly.
what else? What else makes it when you think
Um,
about a best environment?
well, the very first value that we identified as a company was play nice. It was actually called something not so nice at first. It was called the no a-holes policy. But
You can swear on this show. You can say
okay.
asshole all you want.
But we've turned it into play nice, and that goes for both our staff and our clients. And that was one of the very first, when we first started talking about values and what's important to us, that's what came up. And um, we seek to hire people who like to play nice, who are nice people, who are helpers, and that's who we look to work with as well.
Mhm.
So it really creates a nice environment for people, and we just won't tolerate people if they're not going to play nice in our sandbox. And that's on both sides. It's with, I expect that of my team and I expect that of our clients. And so I don't have staff members getting abused by somebody. And likewise, they're not abusing each other because everybody's playing nice.
Okay, I'm gonna park. I got so many notes from this here. So we're gonna talk about.
Okay.
I am sure.
Mhm.
I think that you have fired a client before.
Yes.
All right, there now. Here's a great lesson. The listeners are going to say, "Ooh, how did she do that?" Right?
Yeah.
So, did you say, "Hey, asshole"? Tell us the story. How did you? So, tell us the context, right? What happened?
Sure.
What was going on? And then, how did you fire him or her?
Well, I feel that if you've got things like values, like your company values that are clearly identified, or rules that you're going to conduct yourselves by,
Hmm.
having those conversations, whether it's with clients or employees, becomes so much easier, right?
Hmm.
Because even I've had many clients where I haven't even got to the point of firing. I've just had to have a conversation with them and say, look, one of our values is play nice, and this behavior isn't really
Ooh.
playing nice,
Ah.
right? And so I expect of my staff they will play nice with you. And I need to ask that you can play nice with my staff. Do you think you can do that?
Well,
And the
for those who are listening, oh, are you back at school? Like,
yeah, right. But it's a really easy conversation to
yeah,
have with
absolutely.
someone because it's not me being like really subjective. It's just kind of like this is the rules to play here. And then and without exception pretty much everyone has been like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, like yes,
Hmm.
and corrected. And then there have been some clients where like not multiple, but there's been a couple of clients where it's consistently you know just really a kind of making either belittling or making staff members just being very aggressive in the way they approach things.
Hmm.
Um, and if I have to have that conversation over and over again with you, it takes up my time. And by the time I'm having that conversation with you, my person has been feeling terrible for who
Hmm.
knows how long before they even come to me because they don't want to create problems with me, right?
Hmm.
So it's caused all this negative energy for a lot of people and probably for the client as well because why are they behaving that way, right?
So, hey, hire slow, fire fast, right?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I'm hearing from this, right?
absolutely.
Don't if you leave the rotten apple in the basket, it doesn't take long for, I mean, berries, whatever, call it a fruit, as long if you don't take that
Yeah,
rotten apple out and execute swiftly,
yeah.
you'll recap. A lot of people are afraid to fire. Oh, how am I going to replace this person? Well,
That's
the
just it. It can feel really scary, right? Because it's like, oh, what am I gonna like? That revenue's gone, but then it's like, well, other better revenue will fill the spot,
exactly.
right?
So tell us, what was the conversation? So imagine the
Mhm.
person that you're having this conversation with. How did it go? Not imagine, just recall. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It actually it they weren't happy about the relationship ending, but it went like there wasn't really a lot of room for dispute, right?
Hmm.
Um, because we had had the conversation a couple of times, and
Oh,
I
okay.
was just like, I have to take care of my employees' welfare. That's my job. Like my
Hmm.
job, there's like two parts, like this grow the company, but it's also make the company a good place. And I have made this decision because, I've shared with you before what the values are, and I just don't feel it's a good fit. I don't feel that we're the right fit for you. It's like that simple. And it's made it so it didn't become a really aggressive conversation either. Like the person wasn't happy, but it didn't go to a like aggressive negative place. Like it just was kind of, oh, that sucks. Like, because clients are almost always really nice to me, right? And I think that
Mm.
they sometimes forget, like, I'll have to. There have been instances where I've been working with people that I'm shocked when I hear from my staff about how they're being treated. And it's not until they show me an email or show me something. And I'm like, I'm shocked that person speaks that
Hmm.
way because they don't speak that way to me. And um and I think that there's people that sort of there are some, not a lot, but there are some people who are kind of like they're comfortable treating staff or the people that support them in a demeaning way.
So another lesson, right? When you're coming to the
Mhm.
table, I guess you're ending the relationship, but you're also negotiating. Is come
Mhm.
with an open mind and say, okay, this is what we need. Takes two
Yeah.
people, two-person to tango. You're not holding your end of the deal. You're stepping on my toes and you're not
Yeah.
being right. So thank you very much. And just call it quits, right? There's nothing
Absolutely.
wrong. So many people are afraid of conflict, right?
Yeah.
When you approach it in a calm demeanor, and I mean, conflict resolution. for those who are listening, is very emotional because a lot of people are afraid. Some people say, my mom and my dad, they used to argue all the time. So I don't want conflict, right?
Yeah.
And that reflects in the business world as well. So they say, I don't want to, or I don't want to be a jerk. I want to give this person a chance.
Mhm.
The analogy that I leave often is that, they say, team first. Well, boat first. The company is the boat. So if you imagine everybody on the boat, if you don't take care of the boat, everybody's going to drown. There's no place to go.
Yeah.
So although the team is important, that you treat the team and the crew as with dignity and respect, everybody's got a job to do to keep that boat afloat.
Absolutely.
And so that's part of that relationship of, I don't want to say assertiveness, but firmness.
Yeah. It's just, it's being really clear about what's required in order to keep the boat going forward, right? To
Yeah.
use your analogy, and then it makes it much simpler because it's like, if we can all agree that the boat needs to keep floating
Mhm.
and these are the requirements for that to happen, then it's a pretty simple decision and it's a fairly easy conversation. I was doing a sales call once and on Zoom,
Mhm.
and the woman kept getting up during the call, which was quite rude to me. Like, I sat there for 15 minutes while she did other things in front of me. And then she got up twice to go like yell at, be rude at people.
Oh
And I'm like,
my!
I know. And I was like, I don't want to work with this person, right?
How do I get out of here? Bye.
I
See
know,
you
right?
later.
But she had been referred to me by someone, and so I didn't want to just be like outright rude
Oh
either.
my goodness.
And so I sent her an email and said, what kind of went over my usual sales process email. But at the end, I said, I just want to be clear with you. These are our values through which we have these expectations of you as well as our
Mhm.
staff. And if you think that we would be a good fit with you, then I encourage you to give me a call. And I never heard from her. So
Awesome.
it worked
Awesome.
in that way as well.
Oh, good. Good. So that brings the other topic, living your values, right?
Yeah.
So when you're true, like you're a mother, I'm a
Hmm.
father, and I don't want to compare team members to kids, but
Hmm.
understanding the responsibility and ownership of, I should say, understanding the requirements that you have because you are responsible for others
Hmm.
is very similar to being a parent,
Yeah.
right? Saying, I'm responsible for how many people you got now in your team?
14.
14 people, right?
Yeah.
I'm responsible for 14, right? I'm the
Yeah.
captain of the ship. I'm responsible for these people. So we hear the family rules,
Hmm.
right? And we go by that. In my family, they know that 3 words, but, can't, and try are not allowed. And
Yeah.
so those are simple rules. But okay, so at the dinner table, you don't bring your device.
Hmm.
Um, because our values of our communication, right?
Hmm.
So living your values creates a very good box, like you mentioned, that creates this environment that people feel safe. They know where they can step and not step.
Hmm.
So what are your company values?
It's play nice, have
Play nice,
fun.
yeah. Asshole.
Yes.
Just so because I can say it, we can
Yeah.
put the little e at the end of it. Okay, so play
That's right.
nice.
Have fun. Pride in our work. Think like an owner.
Think like an owner. Ownership, that comes
Hmm.
up a lot frequently. So,
Hmm.
okay, how do you help so somebody comes up to you and they say, hey, I want to work for you. Now, this
Hmm.
person has been in the bookkeeping, an executive assistant, something like that. I've never been an owner. How do I do that?
Hmm.
How do you coach and mentor people to live your values?
Well, I think thinking like an owner is thinking beyond the task that you're currently doing,
Okay.
right? So, what we talk to our team about a lot is when you're given something to do, don't never just sit down and do it. Like, always think, what's the end? Like, where can this go? What's the end game for this, right?
Okay.
And if you're not sure, then ask the person assigning the task, what's
Hmm.
the end result for this,
Hmm.
right? And because even like something as simple as data entry can be done terribly right or terribly wrong if you know the end,
I know by
right?
experience.
Right? Like
Yes.
if you don't know where it's going and you don't know the purpose, right? But then also knowing the purpose and thinking that way, I think brings more joy into our work because then we understand the why
Hmm.
behind it, right? So it's like all those questions we were told to ask in elementary school. My child in grade 2, right? He comes home and he's do who, why, what, how, when, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like all those questions, those are the things that as an owner you kind of intuitively are always asking and thinking. And so we talk to our staff about asking about that about every question. Like if you don't have to ask your client, ask yourself about every single thing that comes up. But then it's also actually owning the work,
Yeah.
right? So I don't say, hey, Martin, to complete this task, I need X, Y, and Z from you, and then forget about it until you send it back to me. I say, hey, Martin, I need X, Y, and Z to complete this task, and then following up with you until I
Hmm.
get it. And it's still my task until it's completed,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Couple of things, more things. One of my things is I'm passionately curious, right? I
Mhm.
always want to know more, more and more and more and
Yeah.
more and more. I ask my kids, what did you do at school? How was it? How was your day? It was good. What was good about it? And I was like, you know, the questions, just
Just come home and say them.
you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
13 years old. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. She's a wonderful girl. She's, anyways, like all
Yeah.
kids living through biological changes.
Yes.
So curiosity, I think
Mhm.
that asking a lot of questions, I don't think
Yeah.
I know, asking a lot of questions is the way
Yeah.
to go. So there's another lesson. For,
Hmm.
ensure that you as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, your team, you never stifle any question.
Oh,
There is no
totally.
stupid question, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then questions. So this is what I say all the time. Are you transactional or are you transformational? Are
Hmm.
you facilitating the work and elevating the people? Or are you just being transactional? I've hired you for a contract. Here's what you're doing. I pay you to do this. What are you going to get more? The question
Hmm.
is easy: be transformational, facilitate and elevate, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, how do you help your staff help their clients move from a transactional mindset to a transformational mindset?
Hmm. It's a really good question.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Um, well, I can tell you that in supporting my staff in their work, um, one of the things I'm working on myself and purely from selfish perspective to save myself time is to move from transactional to transformational. So when they say, I'm struggling with this, rather than me just doing it because it's easier and faster or giving them the answer, I'm taking the time to like back it out and say, okay, well, ask them questions like, well, where would you go first? What have you looked at? And sort of walking them through the thinking process so that they can figure it out. And the results are they're figuring things out faster now and that sort of thing. Um, sorry, you sound like you're gonna say
No,
something.
no, no.
Oh,
I'm going to
okay.
let you go. I've got another question because you said something else. And
Okay. So I have been personally working on myself in how I support my team, which I also think empowers them because then they can learn how to do that themselves going
Mhm.
forward with other tasks. And then in regards to how they support our clients, I think that I'm modeling good behavior for them in that
You beat me
respect,
to it.
right?
You beat me to it.
So
Lead by example, modeling the
yeah,
way.
there
That's
we
good.
go.
Yeah, Amanda is modeling the way. So, like parents that don't do as I say, do as I do, that doesn't fly anymore. You
Yeah,
have to, you have to get in there and show them this is how you do it. Lead by
yeah.
example. So this is a big topic that I converse with a lot of CEOs. A lot of CEOs,
Mm,
and Amanda and I, we've had this conversation before, right? You're
mhm.
working 16, 17, 18 hours a day. What kind of culture are you setting? What kind of example are you setting? Well, the
Yeah.
boss is doing it. She's been successful. I'm going to mimic what Amanda does.
Yeah.
And you turn around and you go, no, 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 I want you to have work life integration. Oh,
Yeah.
but so hold on a second. So you get judged on your actions, not your intentions. So
Yeah.
that's a big one. And I think that Amanda and I have spoken about this before, and I think it's worthwhile mentioning. Amanda, when did you realize that being a responsible entrepreneur versus a leader or a boss that rescues? I'll just do it for him. I'll just do it for him. I'll just do it for you.
Yeah.
Because you're a doer. You're an entrepreneur. You're a doer, and I'm a big advocate of action. But like the Japanese saying, I've said this I think at every show, is there's a Japanese saying that vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Ouch, eh? So there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. They go, Gary V and this guy and this other guy. Sorry, Gary, it's not to you, but they do. And when you do too much, you got a big pile of shit. So the point that a lot of CEOs, entrepreneurs go is, when did you realize that you said, okay, now I have to stop doing and I have to start leading? When did that happen?
I think it's a couple of things. I did some work with Catherine Lazarek. She's a leadership coach.
Okay.
And so I had some stuff I just wanted to work on with myself. And so I did a bit of work with her around that. But then also my husband, Rennie, works in the company with me. And
oh my, that's right.
Yeah, right. And so what would happen was he would see me just getting exhausted and frustrated and answering the same questions 50 times and getting more exhausted and more frustrated. And he finally he was like, why are you doing it? Why aren't you teaching them how to do it? Like, stop doing it. Right. And he kind of really took me to task on it and was like, you're not helping them and you're not helping our clients and you're definitely not helping yourself.
That's right.
By just like, he goes, you got all these staff you could delegate stuff to. You could be spending all the time you're currently doing stuff. You could be training them and mentoring them and coaching them, which I prefer doing anyways, but you just get into this mindset of like push, do. And then it's hard to pull out of that. It is. I think it's helpful that he sits like across the desk from me and can like literally kick me if he wants to, to be like, get out of that space. Right. And stop doing that. So it was kind of a combo, and you and I've had conversations around this, and I think I've just been lucky to have, in EOA, they talk about it, like just have people around me. Yeah. And I want to grow the business, and it's not scalable if you're the person that is like the linchpin in all of it, right?
Working in the business, working on the business, right?
Yeah.
Which one are you going to do? And
exactly.
I think Amanda has got the entrepreneurial bug now, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Tell us what are you thinking about? What are you going to start up next?
That's a really good question. I really love business. So for a long time, I thought I'm interested in real estate. And for a long time, I thought, maybe Career 2.0 would be something to do with real estate. But I just am passionate about business, and I'm passionate about helping business owners kind of figure out where they want to go and that sort of thing. So it would probably be something still working with businesses.
Okay.
But maybe just in a different capacity. I'm not sure. Okay. Maybe I'll come work with you.
Okay.
We'll work together.
Absolutely. The amount of people that get into the business, and it's a realization, right, Amanda? I think you've got it though. You go, I worked hard, got a great idea, visionary. Then you get Rennie's your integrator, right? You got somebody who's right behind you, who's helping you, and you go, okay, what's next? So if you want to really listen to a cool episode, go to Dominic Rubino, How to Reinvent Yourself. Dominic is a good friend of mine. He's built and sold many companies and goes, okay, what do I do next? And then when you're focused on business, it's not about what you do. It's about how you're doing it and why you're doing it. And you just get addicted to just building. And then you're like, okay, that's it. Where I've been a little bit different, right? So I like working in the business. So I jump into other business and help them. But so there's 2 points that I really want to make sure that we cover. Let's go with working with your spouse.
Yeah, yeah.
I like how you giggled.
Yeah.
I like how you giggled on that one. You're like, oh shit, that's a can of worm, right?
Yeah, no.
Is it
Uh,
okay? So hold on a second. Do we want to talk about it? Rennie, don't listen to this episode. No, just kidding.
yeah. No, it's really good for the most part. Rennie and I like we work well together. We because we understand what each other's strengths are.
Hmm.
Um, I'm the sort of face of the business and that sort of
Hmm.
thing, and he's comfortable with that. And there's some spouses where maybe that dynamic wouldn't work so well, right? So we kind of joke like I sign his paycheck and whatever, but it's like we're both really comfortable with the roles that we have in the company. Um,
Modern partnership. Thank you.
yeah, yeah,
Modern
right.
partnership. Too many people think the guy has to earn the dough. And
Yeah,
don't get us wrong, there's partnerships either or.
mhm,
Uh, and I'm gonna
yeah,
screw her name up. Kamala
yep,
Harris.
yeah, yeah,
All right. So women there. And there's Kamala Harris, but there's the let's take it all the Scandinavian countries. They all got
hmm,
female
yeah,
leaders. Chancellor of Germany, New
hmm,
Zealand. Like, don't get me wrong, US, congratulations, good on
yeah,
you. But there's a lot of other women,
hmm,
Margaret Thatcher, you want to talk
yeah,
about the Iron Lady, right? So, and even us in Canada,
yeah.
do your homework. Let's see if you
We had
can
Kim
print.
Campbell for 6 months.
I was gonna stop there. You said it. You gave out the answer. You gave out the
Oh,
answer.
sorry.
I was gonna say, hey, you got to do your homework.
Yeah,
So let's so because that's question number two. But let's go back
yeah,
to working with your spouse.
yeah.
So we're at signing your paycheck. Sorry, interrupted.
Yeah, no, it's I think that like I'm someone that would easily like 24/7 work on the business. I love it and I would never stop. Rennie's not like that, which is probably healthy for our relationship
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, yeah, we're done work now. Like he's like, if I start like in the evening talking to him, he's like, let's book a meeting for tomorrow.
Oh, boosh.
which, which is probably pretty healthy actually for
Yes.
our marriage, right? Um, and so that's and I think that even if we were both like me, it could be burnt out pretty quickly or not so happy pretty well maybe not, but it's just like if you're spending all your time like that for 11, 15, 20 years it could get a bit much.
Yeah.
um and then uh yeah and I think that it's just being clear on what your roles are.
Yeah. That's true because Tracy and I, my wife, we went through
Mhm,
this. So she'd do her thing, I did my thing, and then Tracy decided to pause her career by
mhm,
choice when we had kids. We had kids
mhm.
overseas and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
getting the permit. So when we did come back to North America and Tracy and I started working together, I was like, hey, here's good. How about you do this and you do that? And that lasted about 6 months. And she says, bye. I'm like, what do you
yeah,
mean bye? She's like, you're horrible to work with. What do you mean? And I didn't want to tell her, but I was like,
yeah,
you're horrible to work with. It's funny
yeah,
how we've been together 18 years now. Love her to
yeah,
death. I mean, we get along great on everything we do. But every time it comes to work, like we have so much of a different view on things,
mhm,
we can't work together. So knowing when to be in a partnership with your partner and when not to
mhm.
be, it's okay either or, but as long as you set limitations like Amanda has mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
that's
think being really clear on what each other's abilities are and what your roles are is key. Right? Just like in your marriage, like if you're expecting something of someone that they can't do, it's going to be a problem, right? So
we can go so many
so
different
many
paths.
exactly.
uh let's talk about being a woman, an entrepreneur, and a
Mhm.
boss. Okay. Because there's a lot
Sure.
of expectations. I
Mhm.
have my views. I think the most important job in the world by
Mhm.
far is being a mom,
Yeah.
right? So, um, biological examples of mammals, octopus, they
Mhm.
die for their kids. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of them. We are biologically, we're no different. And I
Mhm.
do believe, I'm a firm believer that good people come from good moms and good dads.
Mhm.
So tell me, how do you deal with it? Just not just being a parent, but
Mhm.
what adversities have you faced, you know,
Sure.
leading your business as a woman, as a mother, as the boss, all of that, all yours.
Well, I could talk for another hour, but,
Go ahead. I'll
so
stop the clock when it's time to stop the clock. But I think there's so
um,
many valuable lessons.
yeah,
If you're a guy or a girl, you listen and you say, okay, well, here's what it is. I've got my views.
yeah.
I want my daughter to grow up in a good place. So I'm taking my active part in it.
Totally. Well, you know what? I started the business before I had kids, which is probably great because I don't
Mhm.
know that I would have like left my job and started my business if I had children, right? Um, and so um, I feel like my kids are very independent, especially the oldest is super responsible. And I think part of that's like I didn't have help. Like I didn't have family to help when
Mhm.
they were little. And so I took about 3 weeks off for each kid and was back working again. Because when
Wow.
I had them, I was still doing direct client support myself. So I've got clients where I was like pumping in their bathrooms, or Jack would come with me and sleep on their living room floor while I was
Oh
working at their
my.
houses. And so, the kids were really very much raised like, in a snuggly while I was at work, right?
Mhm.
Or on my office floor. And so they're really independent. I can share with you that I got to be quite the pro at breastfeeding while on Skype. I would just lay them on the table and tilt the camera. Oh,
Oh, that's awesome.
but you
That's
do what you got to
awesome.
do, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
And so it created this interesting, like, where they're super independent and had to kind of, I had to be able to work, but we also were really close because they were with me always, 'cause I didn't have
Mhm.
childcare or somebody else to like. We eventually got childcare for them when they got a bit older, but in those early years, they were with me all the time, which definitely made it a bit of a struggle, but was worthwhile. Um, and then the, I mean, as far as being one of the things that irritates me a little bit is I do, like, I love working. Like I love working,
Okay.
and so um, and I love my kids, but I don't usually hear men being asked like, "Oh, don't you miss your children?" Or "How does your husband feel? How does your wife feel about you working so much?" Right?
Mhm.
And nothing gets me more unhappy than being
Riled
asked
up.
that. Yeah.
Come
Like,
here.
and I
Come here.
do
Let
miss
me
them.
let me show you. Let me show you a sandwich. Poof. Hey,
Right?
listen, you moron.
Exactly. Like, and I miss them. Like, there's times when it's not like this since COVID's happened. It's not been like this, but pre-COVID, there would be times during the year, like during tax season, where I may not see them for 2 or 3 days because the hours I'm working.
Mhm.
But it's like, and that sucks. But nobody asks men like that question, right?
Mhm.
And so part of the way I've balanced it for myself is I don't work on the weekends.
Okay.
And that was when Jack turned, I think Jack had turned 2, and I still had my office in the house. And I realized I was really struggling between being a good mom or a good business owner. And I was kind of sucking at both.
Mhm.
And so I made the decision to get an office out of the house, and so that I could be Amanda at work while I was at work, and I could be mom when I'm at home. And from that point forward, it's like now my office is at home, but it's like it's an office and it's here.
Mhm.
And I'm very comfortable working 14-hour days and maybe not seeing them for 3 or 4 days during the week, because on the weekends, I'm mom. I
Mhm.
don't do any work on the weekends. And they know that, and they give me the space and respect the fact that I'm working. And that's just kind of the routine that we've created. And it works for us. I get to be driven and do the work I want to do. And I think that I'm like showing them, that you work hard, and this is, it's not a bad thing to learn to work hard.
That that's a lot of
Right?
people forget that. So Tracy tells
Yeah.
me all the time, "You're gonna work until you're 95 years old." Well, I'm gonna work till the day I die.
Me
Be-
too.
I mean, I would hate to see myself like I have a couple of neighbors who are retired.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, but God damn it, I can't go for walks that take 5 hours. My brain is going to just go,
Yeah.
what else? I mean, then I'd be gone. I'd be fishing and
Mhm.
hunting and riding motorcycles and doing all the stuff that would take me away from, and then
Mhm.
I'd be spending more money. So Tracy, really, do you want me to keep
Yeah,
making money or
yeah,
spending money, right?
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I want to kind of come full circle in creating the best environment. I think it applies at home too, right? From
Mhm.
what you've got values that say,
Yes.
okay, hey, listen, I don't want to let go of the value of being a mom.
Yeah.
But here are the
Yeah.
parameters in which we operate. So I
Yeah.
think that's a great lesson. Is just Amanda is Amanda.
Mhm.
Amanda is at home. Amanda is at work. Amanda is Amanda. She
Yeah.
takes the role of CEO when she's at work, and she takes the role of mom when she's at mom. But there's no difference in the way she operates, the way that she translates those values in day to day operation. Is that you set limitations, you set
Yeah.
expectations. Here's what I'm going to do, and here's what you're going to do.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Like before this call, they got home from school 15 minutes before we started talking to each other. So I told them this morning, I said, when you come home, I'm going to be talking to somebody and I need you to behave and to not make noise when you come home. So then I just went and quickly greeted them at the door. I said, it hasn't started yet, but it's going to. So I need you to behave. And like they're 7 and 9, right? So they're at that age where things could explode.
Oh yeah.
And they've been really good. I saw the door kind of move a little bit a few minutes ago, but they've been really good about,
Oh,
and it's just about communicating with them and being clear about the expectations. And I mean, not to say it's perfect, but it's, you know,
a lot of people forget you treat your home like a business, and vice versa, right? We were talking about treating
yeah.
team members as kids, but you
Mhm.
treat your kids as employees. There has to be rewards, there has to be benefits, there has to be goals. Like I sit
Mhm.
down with my family every year and go, what do you want to do, Ariel? What do you want to do, Gavin?
That's so great.
And Ariel says everybody gets the talking stick. So we forgot to talk. We had a conversation. Was it yesterday or Tuesday? I can't remember. Anyways, and we couldn't find the talking stick, so we took the pepper mill.
Nice. Nice.
We're like handing over the pepper mill and going, "Hey, this
Yeah.
is a talking stick." So we're talking about, okay, so if COVID is lifted,
Mhm.
okay, we missed out. I enjoy going to Mexico for 3 weeks. I still work from
Nice.
there, but
Mhm.
we rent a Airbnb. I work in the morning and
Mhm.
then still work. I mean, I pumping out 4 hours of work before everybody works out is still a decent work day for me.
Absolutely.
Um, so then I said to Ariel, so what, if there's a place, and she says, I know we go to Mexico often. This year, I would like to go to Hawaii. And then
Oh, nice.
Tracy goes, well, it's expensive. And I looked at Tracy, and Tracy's like, I say, hey, what are you doing?
Mhm.
She's entitled to her opinion.
Yeah.
Right. And so and it wasn't in a bad place. Tracy was just saying, hey, don't let her
Mhm.
talk. Right.
Yeah.
And then it went over to Gavin, and Gavin had his say. So it's important to use the same methodologies that you would use
Mhm.
in a business environment and living your values throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a similar conversation. Our kids want to go to Disneyland, to the Harry Potter one, and they want to go back to Mexico. And I'm like, well, we can do that, but that means we need to watch how we're spending our money as a
Mm,
family. So do we want to waste our money as a family buying things like video games or these other things, right? Going to McDonald's, or do we want to maybe not do less of that so that we could do
mhm.
both the trips that you want to do? And so now they're on board, right? They're like, yeah, we'd rather do these trips. So it's like kind of a negotiation.
That's the conversation I get from Tracy.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to go to Mexico, here's where you have. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what do you mean I have to not go out and
Yeah.
eat around
Yeah.
and?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, yeah. So a few more questions. Okay,
Mhm.
so tell me, how do you help your clients? What is it that you do, and how you do it, and what benefits do they have in regards to building their values, improving their business? What's a lesson that they can learn from having a virtual assistant or a virtual back office? What's the benefits?
we make their lives better. So the very practical benefits is when you essentially what we're removing for people, because the difference between hiring us versus an employee, let's say, is we're removing any of the HR component that lots of business owners don't want to have to deal with.
Overhead. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no desk or computer to supply, there's no downtime and sick time and that kind of thing. But then also because of the way that we work as a team, you're getting the benefit of multiple people's brains. So if you hire like a superstar, brilliant, really smart person to work with you, whether that's a contractor, VA, or an employee,
Hmm.
that person has their capacity, their brain capacity. But the way that we work, you have your main person, but if you ask something of that person that's not their skill set, they just turn to their team members and say, "Who can do this?"
Hmm.
Right? So then you're getting the benefit of like essentially working with a team while having one person to work with.
Okay.
Um, we also offer the whole kind of back end for your business, from answering your phones to doing your admin to doing your books, where most firms offer like one, maybe two of those services.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that it's it's a really nice place for businesses to start, especially like, if you're a plumber and you've got like one or two trucks on the road and you're still trying to manage the whole business yourself. It's there's this dream position they all want. It's like, oh, I want that mom who's just had her kids and wants to work from 10 till 2, right? Yep. And I want that person to answer my phones and do my books and be my admin assistant. And like, right, that is the person that every tradesperson's looking for. And it doesn't exist. Like there's like maybe one exists for every 100 tradespeople, right?
Yeah.
So we can like take that work, we can be that mom person doing that work, except that we're available from 8 till 5, not just 10 till 2,
Hmm.
and can provide all the services that they're looking for,
Okay.
in a way that's like maybe feels less daunting and less commitment than making a
Okay.
hire.
So, lesson, build some resilience in your admin and support,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay. What's speaking of being best boss and creating the best environment that you can, what's a reference? Book, something, what's latest and greatest on your mind, or something that's really impacted you in your career? What really
Hmm.
pushed you, or it can be current, or it could anything that you can help the listeners and people who are watching to say, you know what, if we focus on the title, creating the best
Mhm.
work environment, is there something there? Or if not, what have you found as a founder and CEO that
Mhm.
has really helped you? What's one or two pieces of reference?
Sure.
Doesn't have to
So
be book.
yeah, yeah. I really there's a modality called person-centered thinking, and it's
Personal
used
centered thinking.
person-centered thinking, and it's primarily been used with people with disabilities. And my dad actually brought the training in the 90s up into BC into his group home from the States. And I went to the training at that point, and I remember just my mind being blown. Like I was like, this could be used in like and for old people, it could be used for this, it could be used for, oh my goodness, this is just like a mind-blowing way to deal with people, right? And to interact with people, and to
Hmm.
it's, I was just like, and at that point I was working my job wherever it was, but I was just, it was like mind blown at this training. And um when I had had the business for a few years, and my dad offered to bring in two of the person-centered coaches to do build a path for It's Your Time and do some planning for It's Your Time, and they do it in a very visual way. It's gorgeous.
Okay.
Um, and I just, that whole modality, like if you look it up, all the resources you'll find online are going to be about dealing with people with disability. But my dad has started using it with companies around sales training and that kind of stuff. And it's all about really getting to know each other. So we do training with our team called Person Centered Teams, and
Okay.
bring my dad in and do a weekend of training with the team on Person Centered Teams. And it's about really getting to know the people you're interacting with in a non judgmental way that looks for Like, what's important to them is like, what's important to you? What's important for you? Those are the two top questions you ask.
The questions that I ask all the time, what
Right?
WIIFM, what's in it for me? What's in it for them?
Yeah.
What's the carrot? What's the steak? What's
And
the banana?
right. And it's just like, and person-centered thinking would suggest that you actually don't have any right to try and support someone until you can answer those questions.
Damn.
Right. And so, you know, I don't have unlimited resources to train my staff every day on all of this, but that's
Yeah.
how I try and live my life. And it's what we actively work on with the team. And we've just started to roll it out with our clients, and we're doing client huddles and going to be doing that with our clients.
Wow. So let's give a shout out to your dad. How did they get hold of your dad?
They can email me, but Paul Wheeler. I've been trying to convince him to get his website up, but yeah.
Okay, so you want to get the Paul, you got to go through Amanda. All right,
yes,
Amanda's the gatekeeper. Look
it's
at that,
transformational.
Awesome. And Amanda, how do people get a hold of you?
They can go to our website. Do you want me to?
Absolutely. Hell yeah.
Our website is itsyourtime.ca.
Okay.
Or they could email me at amanda@itsyourtime.ca.
Cool. Fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you
for being my guest. Like, if you need to know more, like I said, itsyourtime.ca, Amanda at itsyourtime.ca.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the website, check it out, listen to the other podcasts that we have. Thank you again, Amanda. This is Martin, the host of What CEOs Talk About. And I have to say subscribe. I keep forgetting. All right, folks.
Subscribe here.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to What CEOs Talk About. Make sure to click subscribe to get notified about future episodes, or check us out at www.whatceostalkabout.com.